So here we are on the 21st Street side of the building. Originally in the bid I put in to change out these panels that we could see from the street are pretty well shot. But as we get up here, there's a lot of the other trim is fairly well deteriorated. We've got water that drips off this parapet, which you could have the roofers fix that by putting a little bit of diversion dam on the edge of that. The water would splash down here, and it gets up on this. This is sloped towards the window, so it just sits in here and rots this out. The window's kind of rotted out. And then we've got this piece of loose, needs to be fastened back down as a minimum. But the most of the wood up here looks fairly deteriorated. I could probably just change the last little bottom section of this plywood. The plywood doesn't seem too bad. Some of this trim up in here, this looks fairly well deteriorated across this section. Could change that. That's probably not a big priority. Kind of move down to the west here. Kind of get in some of the areas where you've got a little more problems. This wood obviously is pretty rotted on this trim section here. Instead of the metal cap that we saw back down that way, we've got this wood piece on here, and water will sheet down on this window, and it can get down in this crack and get under this, which will cause all the paint to pop off of this anyway. This really needs a metal cap on it. I could try to get it under that window, but most likely we'll just have to butt it to the window, maybe caulk it and seal it to get the water to drain off, because as it is now, any water that drains down this way is going to run down this crack here behind this metal flashing. So this flashing needs done. This window trim across in here, I'd pretty much just change out most of this window trim because it's pretty well had it. What else we got going out here? These squares we've got here are all pretty loose. I put in to re-nail them. And what you see behind here, I don't know if you can see this, that right there is the insulation of the house, which I hate. All the gaps that are on these things, I don't know how this is not leaking in the house. Probably the best thing to do would be to maybe take all the squares off this entire section, and then try to get some kind of flashing across the top of this molding to get any water that runs behind here. Actually, let me back up a minute. We'd take the squares off, put on some Tyvek that would lap some flashing that would divert the water over this trim, and same thing down at the bottom, try to get the water to kick out. So any water that gets behind here, which is probably going to be likely as these squares, the wood expands and contracts over time, they're going to work loose. I need a flashing at the top to try to kick the water over the top. That's probably what I would do if that was my house. What I got in the bid is just to re-nail all these, which I could do that also because the wood behind there doesn't look too bad. Other things you could do, these are particle board, which they're not so bad, but I could try to change those out. The rest of this I'll probably just try to snug up the best I can. Stuff like this that's loose in here. I put a screw in there just to tighten it up, which is no big deal. The other thing we got going out on the side is these dormers up in here. The plywood doesn't look too bad, but this piece right across the top of this crown molding is pretty well deteriorated on all four of the windows on this side. And kind of the quick and dirty fix on that is I could go in here and I could do a horizontal cut on both of these pieces of crown on this upper section, and then slide in a piece of flat molding with a drip edge on it so the water would sheet down here, go across that crown cap, and then drop down. That's the quickest and dirtiest thing. Otherwise I'd end up getting into taking this crown off, which then I'd go ahead and I'd change out that plywood and set it up like I got the dormers on the alley side. And then we're kind of on a budget here, so the quick and dirty fix, we could leave that deteriorated wood in and just try to fit some flashing in on top of it, and that might be just fine. Looks like you guys got your big hole fixed up there, which is good. The way these guys did this roof is great, where they wrapped this rubber up on the edges is good. But there's a few other things here and there. But this center section is probably the biggest thing I've seen up here so far. And I guess that's it.